Hi everyone, I'm Cheryl and welcome to the Sewing Room channel. Isn't this quilt pretty? In this tutorial, I'm going to demonstrate how to put the border on a piece of panel fabric. You can apply this border to any panel fabric that you have, and your measurements may be a little different, but with this border, it's so easy to do it. Go through your scrap pile. Look for scraps of fabric that you can use. Look for the colors that are within your quilt panel piece, and that's going to help bring out everything in that quilt. So let's get started. This piece of panel fabric, it's called Awesome Autumn, and it's designed by Sandy Gervais. I purchased it off of Etsy.com. So if you're interested in buying a fall panel quilt or any other themed panel fabric, you just log on to Etsy.com and enter fall panel fabric or autumn panel fabric, or if it's Christmas or spring or summer. This panel fabric, if you look at from where the white fabric is and you go into where the yellow starts, it's 36 inches from yellow side to yellow side. And then the length is around 44 inches. Before you trim your edges, I want to point out something. If you look at the letter U, see how close it is to the right of the edge of the yellow? And if you go down here to the letter N, it's the same thing. So I'm not going to cut all of the white off. What I'm going to do is go in, or go out I should say, 1/4 of an inch and cut that off. Then when I go to stitch on my border, I'm going to stitch right on the edge of the yellow. So what you would do is you would take the 1/4 inch line on your ruler and line it up on the very edge of the yellow. Now it might be just a little wavy, but my panel was actually cut really nice, so there was not a lot of waviness. And so just cut. All of the supplies and the amount of fabric that you will need are listed below your YouTube screen in the description section. You just scroll down, click on Show More, or the down arrow, and it will expand open and you'll see the links. Here is how I recommend you lay your fabric out. Now, I'm using 4 different prints in my border. You can use more or less. If you have scraps, look through that scrap pile first. But if you're purchasing your fabric, leave your fabric folded with the selvage edges together. Cut this edge straight. Then using the lines on your cutting mat and a quilting ruler, move over every 2.5 inches and do a cut. I'm using 4 colors, so I actually cut 5 strips out of each color. And I like to stack my strips, either 2 or 3 strips at a time. You don't want it too thick. And then cut the selvage edges off. Then go down 15.5 inches and do a cut. You're going to need 4 6.5 inch squares for each of the corners. And you can either buy a fat quarter and cut out your 6.5 inch squares, or you again can buy some fabric and cut the selvage edges off, cut it 6.5 inches wide, then cut the selvage edges off. Move over 6.5 inches twice and do a cut, and that'll give you your 4 squares. I'm going to create 3 rows on the 2 longest edges first. So place your strips of fabric out. And again, it all depends on the length of your panel. I needed only 3 in the first row, but again, if yours is different, you might need more or less. And then I placed 4 in the second row because I wanted to offset them. And then again, on the last row, 3. And just spread your colors out. Just randomly place them out any way you want. Then take the 3 in the first row, Using a 1/4 inch seam, stitch them together. Then stitch the second row together and then the third row together. And again, do your 2 longest edges first. So here's what my rows look like. After you've stitched everything, every time you stitch, you want to press your seams. Now in each row, I press the seams open, but then when I stitch the rows together, I just pressed them all going in one direction. So now I'm going to place this first one on. Now don't worry if your rows are longer than the length of the panel. That's good. You want it a little bit longer because we'll trim it off later. So go ahead and bring front sides together. Line your edges up. And then I would place pins to hold it down. After you've pinned it, then stitch a 1/4 inch seam all along here. After stitching the 2 side borders on, go ahead and press your seams. Then unfold, and as you press, push the seams towards the border. Now you're going to trim these corners to where they are even with the edge of your panel fabric. So line your ruler up with the panel fabric and then go ahead and trim all 4 corners off. Now for the 2 remaining edges, go ahead and lay your strips out and stitch everything together. Now measure the quilt panel and measure it from this raw edge here all the way over to the raw edge over here and cut your border pieces that length. Now measure each end, they might be different. Mine measures 36 3/8. Now press the seam flat, then unfold, and you're going to press the seam towards the border. Now pin the borders on. At the corners, you're going to make sure that the seam on the top is going in the opposite direction than the seam on the bottom. So they should fit in real close and it should feel flat there. Go ahead and pin everything down and also match your seam at the other corner. Then when you're done pinning, go ahead and stitch a 1/4 inch seam all along the edge. After you've done stitching the border on the sides, then go ahead and press the seams, then unfold and press on top, and you want to push the seam towards the border. If you're using this border on another panel fabric or on another quilt, you're not sure how to calculate the fabric for the back and how much binding to get, you want to click on the link down below. Also, if you're not familiar with quilting stitches, there will be a link down below for that. And then if you're not sure how to bind your edges, then there will be another link for that. So scroll down to the description section and click on Show More or the down arrow, and those links will appear. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that you learned something new. If you're interested in other border patterns that you can use on quilts, look for the link below your YouTube screen. You just scroll down and click on Show More or the down arrow. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram and check out my Facebook page. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, and happy sewing. If you like the Sewing Room channel, one of the best ways to show your support is to subscribe by clicking on that red subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to click on share to share this video with your friends. And make sure you click on the bell so you receive notifications for all my new videos. I'm Cheryl, this is Manny, and this is Scotty. See you next time.